If the failing New York Times has an anonymous editorial, can you believe it? Anonymous, meaning gutless, a gutless editorial.
President Trump's reaction was fast, and it was furious.
When you tell me about some anonymous source within the administration, probably who's failing and probably here for all the wrong reasons, no. And the New York Times is failing.
The stunning op-ed headlined, "I am a part of the resistance inside the Trump administration," is scathing. The senior official behind it calling the president they work for impetuous, adversarial, petty, and his decisions half-baked, ill-informed, and occasionally reckless. So much so, the official writes, that Trump's cabinet considered the 25th Amendment used to remove an unfit president from office. Instead, they say some White House officials have banded together to protect the country from the president himself, writing, "It may be cold comfort in this chaotic era, but Americans should know that there are adults in the room. We fully recognize what is happening, and we are trying to do what's right, even when Donald Trump won't."
Nobody has done what this administration's done.
The president hit back, praising his administration.
The poll numbers are through the roof. Our poll numbers are great. And guess what? Nobody is going to come close to beating me in 2020.
And though blistering, the president may be right about the article's effect, especially with his base and Republican lawmakers continuing to have his back.
In my world, when the New York Times speak, most of us don't listen. Nothing against the paper, but it's sort of seen as the voice of the left.
But that support will do little to ease the president's anger. After the op-ed was posted, Trump tweeted one word: treason. It's hard to imagine the tension inside the West Wing tonight. The White House says whoever wrote the op-ed is a coward who should resign. That person says this so-called resistance is keeping the country safe. Their stunning op-ed is giving more credence to the claims made in Bob Woodward's damning book about the Trump White House, a book that the administration has tried to dismiss as fiction. Ellen Morrow, CBC News, Washington.
So a quick note on sourcing here. The New York Times changed its policy on anonymous sourcing last year, in part as a response to the president's relentless assertion that journalists invent information and attribute it to unnamed sources. Using sources is a rigorous part of journalism, but different types of sources have different names and meanings. An anonymous source is a credible person whose identity and position is known to the journalist and most often a senior editor. Their identity is protected because there's no other way the information would be available. News organizations do their best to give information about the person without revealing their identity. Case in point, senior official in the Trump administration points you in a direction without outing the source. That's different from an off-the-record source. Information they give cannot be used for reporting directly, and the source cannot be identified. Finally, there are background sources. Information from such a person can be used to help guide a journalist, but can't be cited or attributed to someone. All right, let's bring in Keith Bogue from Washington with more on this story. Keith, let's start a little bit with more on the journalistic decision here to publish this op-ed. Pretty astounding, unusual, controversial, I would imagine.
It is. The New York Times is putting its reputation on the line and asking readers to trust its determination that the anonymous source of the op-ed is indeed an administration official so senior that his or her perspective on the administration carries such weight that an op-ed is more valuable than just taking the information and reporting it in the normal way. Now, a former executive editor of the Times, Howell Raines, said tonight that the Times was stepping into the future and developing new ways to fulfill its mission at what he called a time of national crisis.
Okay, national crisis. If that's really what's going on, if that's why the Times has done this, are they right? Is that what's happening?
Yes, they are right. Whether you believe all of what the op-ed says or all of what Bob Woodward's book reportedly says about the dysfunction of the White House and how senior members of the cabinet have to work around Donald Trump's worst impulses, or whether you simply believe that the op-ed is revealing a deliberate and organized effort within the White House to thwart the president's agenda and substitute their judgment for his, the fact is unelected people are claiming that they are undermining the president to protect the country from him. And that's not far off what revolutionaries claim when they're launching a coup d'etat. Now, that's not literally what this is, but yes, it is a crisis.
Just when you thought things couldn't get more incredible, it does. Thank you, Keith. Appreciate it.
Thank you.